Thank you, Honorable Waive. I know Dr. Iwundu is itching to respond to some of the issues raised by Sheikh Alkali, but add to it, how will these reforms impact states that rely heavily on, federal allocations?
Okay, thank you. Before I go to that, I want to talk about the derivative principle that has been very contentious. The actors or the proponent of derivative principle want Nigeria to develop fast. I want to say it clearly for Nigerians to hear. The idea of derivative principle is to put this country on the path of development and speed economic activity. When we talk about derivation, people argue that the VAT has to be. People say that the VAT is only a consumption tax. I want to say it in this studio. VAT is not only a consumption tax, it's also a production tax. When you say get 60% of the VAT that is being generated from your area, it will bring competition among the 36 states of the Federation. Every state will be competing to have economic activity, to have productive activity, to have consumptive activity that will give them the VAT. And for example, now, some part of the country has agricultural products that are not vatable. Then they are now moving those agricultural products to a particular section of the country where it will be converted to semi or finished goods. Now, when you convert it to semi or finished goods, the state that has done that conversion will collect VAT. So we expect that states that have agricultural products, the governors and the stakeholders can say, can we put up industries? Instead of carrying tomatoes from one point to another point where it will be converted to tomato paste, we can have some agro-allied industry that can convert this thing for us and we end VAT. So I expected some governors to have embraced this derivative principle, which will help them to industrialize their area, increase production, reduce unemployment, and also drive poverty from the section of the country. So I don't know why people are kicking again. This idea of coming to Abuja to share money cannot take this country to anywhere. Every month, governors come and share money.
You seem to agree with, the clauses, or if you like, you seem to be on the part of the tax reform bills.
Exactly, yes, on that particular derivation.
What about Section 59
okay.
Of the tax, which proposes a development levy and gradual reduction of funding to TET Fund, Naseni, and NIDA? What's your view on that?
In our memorandum yesterday, which you submitted to the Senate, we opposed the idea of not funding the TET Fund at some point. Because we are seeing it that if you stop funding the TET Fund will go out of existence. Some of us have traveled around the country, seeing so many universities, polytechnics, and we see virtually there's TET Fund project all over the place. So why are you winding up TET Fund only to move the money to students' loan scheme? As I'm talking to you, America cannot manage their students' loan scheme again. The president today, the president of the United States at some point were trying to forgive some of those loans because they can't pay. And they have even data more than us. So what we are, the memorandum we submitted to Senate yesterday, which we're also going to submit to the House of Representatives. So we want TET Fund to stay. We want TET Fund to stay.
Fund?
Including other agencies, Naseni and other, want them to exist because they have been doing very well. You can find a way of getting funds for students' loan scheme.
To be honest, you go to a place like the National Open University of Nigeria, I'm not sure there's any other project that is not TET Fund.
Exactly.
So what becomes of that kind of
exactly.
university?
Look at
every project is TET Fund.
Even
but let's look at our country. Before TET Fund came into being, the Ministry of Education was funded to do all of this. So I'm not saying that TET Fund should go, but I'm trying to say that TET Fund was brought in to cure something. And it's a problem with our country. We must ensure that those who have the primary responsibility carry out those responsibilities so that we don't begin to wait for interventionist agencies before we're able to do what we should ordinarily do. That the existence of TET Fund is the testimony of the failure of government to fund education properly.
And you remember that at that point, ASU keep going on strike because they will sign a deal with government on the funding of the university. They are not, government is not doing that. So now when you have an interventionist agency like TED Fund, and if you take a track record, this is, we're not talking about infrastructure alone. A lot of funds has gone out from TED Fund for research and development.
All right. Many thanks, Dr. Iwundu.